Hello and welcome to the Edupedia world. This is our data structure tutorial, and in this tutorial we are going to study the analysis of algorithms. Okay, so the agenda for this tutorial will be analysis of algorithms, goals of the analysis of algorithm, running time analysis, and how to compare the algorithms. So now let's begin with our first topic, that is analysis of algorithms. Why analysis of algorithm? So the question to you is, why do we actually need to analyze the algorithm? What is the need to analyze the algorithm? Well, I hope so that you all understand what is algorithm. Just to recap it, algorithm is just, you can say, the steps or the instruction to solve a particular problem. Okay. Now, what is the need to analyze the algorithm? Well, just consider an example that if we want to go from city A to city C, there can be many ways for doing this. For example, we can go via city B or maybe via city D or by bus, by flight, by train. Also, we can go by cycle. So, depending upon the availability and convenience, and obviously our budget and the time that we have to go. For example, if we have ample of time, we can choose to go by cycle. But if we have to reach there urgently, then we might choose to go there by flight also. Okay. Similarly, the other is our budget. If we are ready to spend huge amount, we can choose to go by flight. If we are on a, you can say, a miser hand, then we might choose a bus or maybe a two-wheeler. So thus, depending upon the convenience. So convenience, I have actually stated them as time and the budget in this case, which according to which we can choose which one of many ways that we have concluded we actually want to choose, and whichever suits us. Similarly, in computer science, there can be multiple algorithms exist for solving the same problem. For example, sorting problem has a lot of algorithms like insertion sort, selection sort, quick sort, and many more. We'll be covering each of them in our later on videos. But yes, we do have various sorting algorithms. Okay, so we do have many algorithms to solve one problem. Just consider an example. Let's say we want to um, just compare three numbers and find the greatest of them. So what can be the algo for it? What can be the algorithm to do that? What are the steps that we need to follow to solve this problem? Let's try to just form the steps for that. So in order to compare three numbers which are like stored in A, B and C variable, how can we do that? So the algo that I'm going to write is just on a basic assumption that these three are just integer numbers. Okay. So firstly, the first step we could do is like take the input from the user for A, B and C. Fine. So this will be my first step for the algorithm. Second step would be compare A to B. Okay. And after comparison, check which one of them is greater or bigger. Now, there can be two scenarios. One is if A is greater. Okay. And other scenario is if B is greater. So now, in the first scenario, let's say if A is greater, then the next step would be to compare A with C. Fine. When we compare A with C, just check which one is greater. Again, if A is greater, then we can conclude that A is greatest. Okay. Or otherwise, we can say B is greater. Okay. Then coming to the scenario where we left, when we try to compare A and B was greater. Then we compare B with C. Now if B is again greater, then we say B is greatest. Otherwise we can say C is greatest. Fine. So this is one of our algorithm that we have derived to solve this problem. So the other algo would be to take input from the user. First step would be take the input of A, B and C from the user. Once you have taken the input from the user, just compare A with C. So you see the difference between first algo and second algo is, in second algo we are comparing A with C in the step 2, and in first algo we compared A with B. Right now the difference to you might be, assuming, oh, it's just a minor difference, why even she is caring about that? Well, I'm just, telling you examples. So this can be a broader scale. There could be thousands of number. Okay, in that the algo might be, very, very different from each other. Although in this case, I'm just changing one step. Otherwise, things remain same. Overall logic kind of remains same. But yes, definitely the algo changed. So considering these two examples, which one do you think would be, better algo? Why so? Because we want to actually, solve our problem in a best way. And what is the best way? Well, the best way is definitely, the better logic. And when I say better logic, that means logic being better in terms of time it takes to, compute. And if I say time, that means the performance, how fast it's running, and also how much memory space is it taking. Is I'm taking some extra memory space to solve this, or like are both of them taking same memory space? So these are some of the parameters using which we can actually state that this algo is better than that one. In our case, you can see that both our algos are similar except the step 2 interchange. So there is no much difference to compare about these two. But if we take complex scenarios like sorting, searching, then definitely we do have algos which are drastically different from each other. Therefore, one could be better in one situation and other could be better in some other situation. So now you understand that what is the purpose of analysis of algorithm. So that is to choose the best possible solution in that particular scenario for that particular problem. Because a problem can be solved by hundreds of solutions. But depending upon our need or a particular scenario, there could be a single solution which is best one to solve that problem in that scenario. So we need to actually find that. So that's why we do the analysis of algorithm. Algorithm analysis helps us determining which of them is efficient in terms of time and space consumed. Regarding goals of analysis of algorithm, I think goals are also quite clear to you because this is something similar to why we need. So if you are able to understand why we need analysis of algorithm, I think you will be able to understand what are goals. The goal is definitely to find the best solution for that particular problem in that particular scenario and on particular need. The particular need is like, I want the fastest solution. I don't care if it is taking some extra space. So I'm okay if the space is high, but I need it to be fastest. So that is my scenario, my need. Okay. So in that case, I choose this particular algo. Let's say if I have a different need where I say, okay, it doesn't matter to me if it's taking 1 or 2 seconds extra, but it should not acquire any extra space because I have lots of huge data. If it's going to acquire, the space, then it will be really huge. So that's why I want it to, don't consume extra space. So that is my requirement, and my algo could differ in this case because my requirement has changed. So this was about goals of algorithm analysis. Now let's see what is running time analysis. Well, it is a process of determining how processing time increases as the size of problem increases. So definitely as your program increases, the processing time will increase. Why so? Because just, picking our previous example, if you want to find the highest in the three numbers, it can be done very quickly because there is three numbers to compare. But if you want to do the same thing in, say, 10,000 numbers, then comparing each one of them with each is it takes lot of time. So it might, if I apply the similar algo on this, so it will actually, you can just multiply. So earlier I was just comparing three numbers and now I'm comparing 10,000 numbers. Okay, so I mean it's gonna be like 3,000 times more approximately the time taken. Okay, so that is how your the processing time does increases if your size increases. But that doesn't mean that will happen in every case. But for our previous case, that could be a particular algo. But if I just change my number to up to 10,000, then I might like to develop a new algo which will be suitable for that position or that scenario, which might not be taking that much of time. Okay, so definitely you can try to find out a better solution for that. So, well, anyways, this is called a runtime analysis, that is to analyze that how if the size of the problem increases, how does it actually impacting is your algo. If you are trying to run it for a smaller input, and on the other case, if you're trying to run it for a high or a increased size of input, how much difference does it take? Is it taking the same processing time? Is it taking lesser or is it same? Or is it, I mean, huge differences there? So that is about the runtime analysis. Well, input size is just the number of elements in the input, and depending on the problem type, the input may be of different types. Now, in general, we encounter the following types of input. What kind of input? I mean, this is just a generic representation. For example, like size of array. Size of array could be really small, like one or two elements, or it can be huge, up to 1 lakh elements also. Then we have polynomial degree. Then we have number of elements in a matrix. Definitely, like we can define whether it's a 3 by 2 matrix or 4 by 4 or anything. The number of bits in binary representation of the input. Well, we can also define that how many bits we need to create or we need to have to show a binary representation of our input. Then we have vertices and edges in a graph. So we can even have that as an input. So these are just a common type of input. We can have various types of other inputs as well. Now, how to compare algorithms. Finally, let's see how can we actually compare the algorithm. Let's say if we are having two algorithms, just stated for just finding the largest number, then how we can compare the different algorithms. Well, there could be various parameters. Let's try to guess the parameters. The first guess is execution time. Do you think execution time is the right parameter to compare to algorithm? Well, I don't really think so. It's a good thing to, compare to algos using execution time. Why so? Because execution time is usually computer dependent. Your CPU could be very fast, so it might, even for a bad algo, it's doing excellent work. Or if someone else's computer is having a bad CPU, so the its processing time is not that good, then even for a good algo, it can perform badly. So execution time is not a good parameter to analyze or to compare your algo because that is specific to the computer. After that, we have number of statements executed. Now, do you think this is a good parameter? Well, again, it's not very good parameter. Why so? Because you could write a simple algo in 4 steps, but when you actually write it in a programming language, you have to code it out. And each programming language might be having a different syntax. Thus, the number of statements varies with each programming language. Maybe in Java, it can be done in 2 lines of code, and in C, we actually need to write 10 lines of code for doing the same thing. So, therefore, the number of statements executed is actually not a good parameter. Also, it depends upon an individual programmer style. One programmer might, is doing the variable initialization, giving it a value in the same line, but other programmer might be doing in 2 different lines. So definitely, it also depends upon the style of individual programmer as well. So what do you think should be the ideal solution? Let us assume that we express the running time of given algorithm as a function of input size. We can compare these different functions corresponding to running time, and this kind of comparison is independent of machine time or programming style, etc. So what we are talking about here is the running time of algorithm. Now how running time can be compared? Well, we do have simple notations to define it. For example, big O notation, and there are various others. We'll see that in future videos. But yeah, we do have various functions to define the running time. And when we say running time, it actually means like uh, running time depending upon the number of steps. So it's not dependent upon a particular programming language. It's just dependent upon normal algo, like the algo that you have written, how many steps it requires, how many iteration is required. So what will be the running time? So that is how running time is calculated. And the other thing which is not written over here, but I would like to mention is a space complexity also. Because definitely it does matter, if I have a problem and to solve it, I need extra memory. And if I take extra memory, which is too much, then it is definitely not ideal solution. Just for example, if I, want to if I have a string which is having various alphabets, and in between this alphabets there are five alphabet which states apple, so it's like A P P L E somewhere mentioned in those string of alphabets. Now I have to detect whether the string is having these alphabets which are A P P L E. So does it contains an apple or not? So to do that, one thing is, I might take another array, I store apple in it, and I compare each character with each one to find whether apple is there. And if it's there, then I take another array to mark like this is okay, and finally if everything is okay. So this is like just one way of doing that. Other way is let's not take any extra space and just try to compare it with the string apple. Let's not take any other character array. So that is another way of doing that. So that's how like the algorithms even differ whether if we are taking some extra space or not. Okay guys, so this was it about this tutorial. I hope you have enjoyed it. So this is a third video of data structure tutorials. Although I haven't told in a previous tutorial, but just like to mention it over here that it's okay, like the prerequisite for attending this tutorial is just a basic understanding of what is a computer language. If you're aware of that, it's very good because it would be advantage. And in case if you're aware of any of the programming languages like Java, C, C++, or any other language, then again it's very good because in that way you'll be able to understand this tutorial really well. But in case if you're not, then no problem because I'm going to cover each and everything from the very basic. So even if you're not aware of any of our programming language otherwise, then also this tutorial will be like really simple to understand, and definitely I'm sure you will be able to understand it. Okay guys, so thank you very much for attending this tutorial.